You didn't raise your voice. You didn't throw a punch. You just stood there, calm, composed, unshaken, and suddenly they're calling you gangster. Funny, isn't it? The same people who mocked you when you were quiet now flinch at your calm. The same ones who thought your patience was weakness are trembling because they finally realized it was precision. You didn't need to rage. You didn't need to prove. You just stayed classy while they panicked, and that's what scared them the most. Because there's nothing more terrifying than a person who can burn the world down, but chooses not to. See, they expected chaos from you. They built their stories around your breaking point. They wanted you to react, to beg, to explode, so they could say, "See, told you they were unstable, but you didn't give them that satisfaction, did you?" You smiled, you straightened your suit, you said nothing, and that silence felt like violence. You mastered what they could never understand, control, the kind of control that makes people question reality itself. The kind that turns every insult into evidence of your superiority. You see, classy isn't about appearance. It's about discipline. It's the art of making destruction look elegant. It's sipping your drink slowly while the room loses composure. It's watching your enemies self-destruct and knowing you don't have to lift a finger, because truth will always do it for you. They thought gangster meant loud. They thought it meant violence, chaos, intimidation. No gangster is walking into a room full of people who tried to break you and smiling like you own the air they're breathing. Gangster is refusing to stoop to their level, because your level is a view, not a pit. You're not dangerous because you're loud. You're dangerous because you're composed. They called you cold. You call it peace. They called you arrogant. You call it boundaries. They called you scary. You call it self-control. You didn't fight dirty. You let time do the fighting. You didn't argue. You let results speak your language. You didn't get revenge. You let their own guilt finish the job. And now, they whisper your name differently. There's hesitation. There's tension. There's that little flicker of fear behind the fake smiles. They're trying to figure out what changed, and they can't. Because you didn't change. You just stopped bleeding for free. You became immune to chaos. You became fluent in detachment. You realized that reacting gives away energy. And you finally learned how to conserve yours. That's what real power looks like. Not noise, stillness, not rage, restraint. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't break the way they expect. They can't handle someone who smiles through betrayal, who laughs through manipulation, who carries elegance like a blade hidden in a handshake. You've mastered the paradox. You can be kind without being soft, forgiving without being foolish, calm without being conquered. You are the walking contradiction they never saw coming. The saint with the psychopath's composure, the angel with a demon's patience. You don't need to fight for dominance anymore. You are dominance. Because you learned that unpredictability isn't about chaos. It's about emotional control. You are the storm that learned how to sit still. The volcano that learned not to erupt. Because even dormant, you terrify the world. They're panicking now because they can't read you. You became a mystery, and mysteries make insecure people unravel. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't flinch. They can't disarm someone who's already accepted loss as a teacher. They can't destroy someone who's already comfortable walking through the fire. You've become untouchable. And that's why they call you gangster. Because deep down, they know it's not the guns or the threats that make someone dangerous. It's composure under chaos. When they insulted you, you smiled. When they betrayed you, you said thank you. When they doubted you, you stayed silent. And now that silence is echoing in every room they enter. That's elegance turned lethal. That's grace used as a weapon. That's what happens when pain graduates into power. And here's the secret they'll never admit. They didn't hate your confidence. They hated the mirror it held up. You exposed their instability by staying still. You exposed their weakness by showing restraint. You didn't shout. You didn't compete. You just existed, and existence at your level is confrontation enough. You don't seek validation anymore. You are validation. You don't chase revenge. You embody it. You don't fight fire with fire. You watch fire exhaust itself trying to burn you, and then you walk through the ashes in white. They call you gangster because they can't call you what you really are, evolved. They can't label calm as power. They can't process grace as dominance. They can't understand that silence, when sharpened by pain, cuts deeper than any blade. You stayed classy while they panicked. You smiled while they scrambled. You watched them expose themselves trying to expose you. You watched their hands shake while yours stayed steady. That's power, darling. Not dominance over others, dominance over yourself. They used to laugh at you. Now they mimic you. They used to gossip about you. Now they study you. They used to test your limits. Now they walk on eggshells near your name. You went from underestimated to untouchable, from polite to poised, from invisible to inevitable. And all you did was refuse to lose your elegance in a room full of animals. You don't need to prove that you're strong. Your calm already terrifies them. You don't need to prove you're dangerous. Your composure already declares it. So stay exactly like this, still, sharp, unbothered. Let them call it gangster, because in a world addicted to chaos, grace is the loudest form of rebellion. They can't stand it, can they? The way you walk into a room without saying a word, and every heartbeat forgets its rhythm. The way your silence drags their insecurities into the light. The way your calmness doesn't just settle the air, it commands it. They don't understand it, so they label it gangster. Because what else do you call someone who never needed to shout to make the walls tremble? You didn't raise your hand, yet their reputations started falling apart. You didn't expose them, yet their guilt started leaking through every forced smile. You didn't even play their game, and somehow you won it. That's the kind of power that terrifies small minds. Grace under pressure. You're the paradox they can't decode. You look calm, but they can sense the violence beneath it, the discipline that took years to perfect. You smile, but your eyes don't blink when someone crosses a line. You're too polite to be predictable, too composed to be controlled. They call it arrogance, but it's really just clarity. See, they expected you to crumble. They built entire narratives around your failure. They practiced their speeches for when you'd finally snap. They were ready for your breakdown, your outburst, your fall from grace. But instead, you showed up calm. You walked through the fire in a tailored suit. You didn't flinch. You didn't explain. You didn't defend. And that's when the panic started. Because when you don't play the victim, the villain loses their power. When you stay classy in a room built on chaos, everyone realizes who the real danger is. You didn't fight their lies. You outlasted them. You didn't match their energy. You made their chaos look cheap. You didn't chase revenge. You let your peace haunt them. That's why they talk about you like that now. Gangster, cold, unbothered. Words born from fear, not hate. Because nothing unsettles a coward like someone who can't be provoked. They call you dangerous because they can't predict you. They call you mysterious because they can't manipulate you. They call you heartless because your empathy finally learned self-respect. But you know the truth. You're not heartless. You're healed. You're not arrogant. You're aware. You're not detached. You're done explaining. You mastered the art of emotional elegance. You learned how to weaponize restraint. You learned that silence can kill louder than screaming ever could. Because when you stay calm while others panic, you turn into something supernatural, a mirror. And people don't hate mirrors for what they are. They hate them for what they show. That's what you've become, the reflection they can't escape. You don't even have to confront them. Your existence does it for you. They see you thriving, composed, glowing, and suddenly they remember every time they doubted you, every time they underestimated you, every time they whispered your name with sarcasm, and now it's trembling in admiration. They're panicking because they know what you could do if you ever decided to stop being graceful. Because calm people are dangerous. They've already mastered what chaos fears: control. You didn't destroy anyone. You just stopped destroying yourself for them. You didn't humiliate anyone. You just stopped letting them rewrite your story. You didn't get revenge. You just let the truth marinate long enough to taste like justice. And now they're nervous because they realize your peace is permanent. They realize nothing they do can shake your center anymore. They realize you're not competing. You're orbiting above the game. You walk different now. Every step is deliberate. Every word is measured. Every look is loaded. You've become that rare kind of person whose silence feels like a sermon and whose calm feels like a warning. They call you GANGSTER, but you're something far more dangerous. You're evolved. You've reached that untouchable frequency where you don't need validation to move, and you don't need closure to heal. You've learned that the most powerful response to chaos is composure. And they can't replicate that. They can copy your style, your smile, your tone, but they'll never copy your equilibrium. Because that balance was bought with pain. It was earned in the dark. It was built from every betrayal you never exposed, every insult you never answered, every loss you turned into leverage. That's what class really is. It's survival, disguised as elegance. It's power wrapped in patience. It's the ability to sit across from people who plotted against you and smile like you're sipping champagne. Because you don't need to hurt anyone. They've already done that to themselves. All you had to do was outgrow the battlefield. And that's what you did. You turned every scar into style, every heartbreak into habit, every silence into strategy. And now they're panicking. Because your peace has no cracks. They can't touch you without embarrassing themselves. They can't provoke you without exposing their instability. That's the moment you know you've ascended, when your composure becomes confrontation, when your calm becomes proof, when your elegance becomes armor. You didn't become a gangster. You just stopped kneeling. You stopped explaining. You stopped entertaining chaos. You learned how to win without noise, how to speak without words, how to terrify people simply by staying still. Because real class doesn't react, it radiates, and that's what you do now. You walk through rooms like a quiet explosion, leaving everyone dizzy with equal parts fear and fascination. So let them call you whatever helps them sleep. Gangster. Cold. Too much. You know what you are. You're the calm that makes storms nervous, the silence that makes liars sweat, the proof that elegance is the ultimate form of revenge. You stayed classy while they panicked. And now No matter how loud they get, they'll never sound stronger than your silence. They still don't get it, do they? They keep trying to figure you out, circling you like nervous animals, whispering your name like a rumor wrapped in fear. They think something happened to you. Like one day you snapped, like something must have changed. But you didn't change. You refined. You stripped away every weakness they mistook for kindness, and left only precision, only power, only you. They call it arrogance because they don't know what self-respect looks like when it's fully armed. They call it gangster because your calm doesn't fit in their vocabulary anymore. They can't process it. This version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't justify, doesn't need approval to breathe. They wanted you polite, predictable, pliable. But that version of you, you buried it quietly and held the funeral with a smile. Now every move you make feels like prophecy, every glance like strategy. You've turned stillness into dominance. You've learned that silence is louder than any insult, and restraint is more violent than rage. That's why they panic. You don't rise to bait anymore. You just look at them, calm, composed, and suddenly they feel exposed because you know something they don't. Emotional control is psychological warfare. You don't need to shout when you're certain. You don't need to convince when you're inevitable. You don't need revenge when your presence alone reminds them of everything they did wrong. And that's what's driving them mad right now. You don't play the game. You own it by refusing to play at all. You've learned that chaos loses power the moment you stop feeding it. So now they throw words at you, hoping for a crack. But your calm is bulletproof. They're realizing the truth too late. You were never passive. You were patient. You were never quiet. You were calculating. You were never weak. You were watching. You let them think they were winning while you studied their patterns, memorized their moves, learned their tells. You let them believe your silence meant surrender when it was actually strategy. Because when you finally moved, you didn't need to make noise. You made impact. They expected a reaction. You gave them reflection. You held up the mirror and let their own behavior haunt them. You didn't argue. You just evolved. And that's what terrifies people most. Not the sound of your anger, but the silence of your growth. You're operating on a frequency they can't tune into. A place beyond validation, beyond approval, beyond explanation. You've ascended past the noise. And from up here, you can see the whole board. Every move they make now is desperation disguised as confidence. Every rumor they spread is panic wrapped in gossip. You didn't do anything wrong. You just stopped being accessible to people who feed on chaos. You stopped answering calls from your old self. You stopped translating your peace into a language they could exploit. That's what classy really means. It's dignity dressed as danger. It's knowing exactly how much destruction you're capable of and choosing elegance instead. It's the art of walking away so gracefully that your absence feels like an execution. And deep down, they know that. That's why they call you names. It's projection. They feel small in your calm. Your peace reminds them of their noise. Your boundaries remind them of their lack of control. Your poise reminds them of their panic. You're everything they pretended to be, but could never sustain without collapsing. They used to laugh when you stayed quiet. Now they can't stop watching, because you've become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. They never know what you'll do, and that's what paralyzes them. You could destroy them, but you won't. You could expose them, but you don't need to. You could fight them, but you'd rather watch them fight themselves. That's why they call you gangster. Because deep down, they know. Real gangsters don't yell. They don't announce. They don't prove. They just arrive. And when they do, everyone feels it. You've become that energy, the calm that rattles rooms. You carry the quiet authority of someone who's already survived worse than anything they can throw at you. You're not impressed by threats. You're not shaken by opinions. You're not defined by praise. You've learned that the only true flex in this world is emotional sovereignty. The ability to be unbothered in a society that profits off your reaction. The ability to smile while others scheme. The ability to stay centered while everything around you fractures. You've transcended the chaos. You no longer participate in other people's self-destruction. You just hand them the rope and keep walking. They wanted you to scream. You whispered. They wanted you to chase. You paused. They wanted you to lose control. You smiled and let time do the talking. That's what's haunting them now. That you didn't have to destroy them. You just let them expose themselves. You let truth rot their egos from the inside out. They thought being classy was weakness. They thought being composed meant you'd stay quiet forever. But class isn't weakness. It's restraint. It's standing in the wreckage of everything they tried to break and adjusting your tie. It's walking away with clean hands while they're covered in the mess they made. That's the paradox that breaks their minds. You're ruthless and refined, savage and serene, vengeful and virtuous, all at once. You've mastered the balance between heaven and hell. You're the angel who smiles while the demons trip over themselves trying to reach you. You don't fight for power anymore. You are power, disguised as poise. And now the same people who once doubted you can't sleep at night, knowing you could end them with a look. Because power that doesn't flaunt itself is power that can't be challenged. So let them talk, let them panic, let them call you gangster like it's an insult. You know what it really means. It's the sound of fear wearing admiration as camouflage. Because at the end of the day, all you did was stay composed in a world built on chaos. You didn't match their noise. You made silence your symphony. You didn't chase validation. You became the proof. They call you gangster. You call it growth. Because real elegance doesn't shout. It just changes the temperature of the room. The room went quiet the moment you stopped trying to be seen. That's how it always happens. First they overlook you, then they overthink you, then they fear you. Because the same silence they once dismissed has become the sound of something awakening. And this time, it's you. They used to talk over you, remember? They'd smile past you like you were background noise. Too kind to be noticed, too harmless to be remembered. You were invisible and they liked it that way. They could shine freely while you softened your light just enough not to threaten theirs. But somewhere between being ignored and being forgotten, something inside you snapped. You stopped waiting for applause. You stopped asking to be chosen, and you built yourself in the shadows until your silence became undeniable. Now look at them. The same people who once looked through you can't even look at you. The same ones who laughed are whispering now, voice shaking, pretending they always believed. Funny how that works, isn't it? They never saw you coming because they never bothered to look. You were never invisible. You were camouflaged. That's the difference between the forgotten and the forged. You weren't waiting. You were loading. Every rejection added a layer of armor. Every humiliation fine-tuned your hunger. You learned to move through pain like smoke through a cage, reshaping yourself until the walls couldn't hold you anymore. And when you finally emerged, the entire landscape shifted, because power built in silence always arrives like an earthquake. They can't explain it. One day, you were the quiet one, the humble one, the nobody, and now you walk like you've been here before, like you own every room without trying, because you learned the most dangerous trick of all, how to stop performing for a world that profits from your doubt. You don't chase validation anymore. You attract fear. You don't argue. You exist. And your existence alone is louder than their entire vocabulary. They used to ignore your messages. Now they quote your sentences. They used to smirk when you spoke. Now they memorize your silence. They used to pity you. Now they study you like a threat assessment. You see, they loved you when you were safe, when you were small enough to fit their narrative, when your self-doubt made them feel tall. But the moment you realized your worth, the moment you stopped apologizing for it, that's when their admiration turned into anxiety. Because nothing terrifies people like the one they underestimated finally standing up straight. You went from overlooked to omnipresent, from ignored to iconic, from background noise to broadcast signal. They can't unsee it. Your presence changed the oxygen in the room. Your name is being spoken in places you've never stepped foot in. And the irony? The same mouths that mocked you are now the ones marketing your name. They'll rewrite history, of course. They'll pretend they always knew. But you remember who laughed. You remember the tone. You remember the silence when you needed support. You remember how it felt to be nothing but potential in a world obsessed with performance. And now, you're the performance they can't top. That's the power of evolution through pain. It's quiet, precise, irreversible. You didn't just grow, you mutated. You became fluent in pressure. You made betrayal your pre-workout. You stopped running from rejection and started lifting with it. That's why they're trembling now. They don't understand how someone can go through hell and come back beautiful. They don't get how someone can be both wound and weapon at once. You broke every rule of survival. They expected you to heal soft, but you healed sharp. You're no longer a product of your past. You're the punishment for theirs. You're not the one chasing opportunity. You are the opportunity now. And the people who overlooked you, they'll never sleep comfortably again. Because deep down, they know. You didn't just rise. You remembered. You remembered every laugh, every doubt, every look that told you to sit down. And you turned all of it into fuel. You became the prophecy they accidentally spoke into existence, the lesson they didn't mean to teach, the storm they helped build. So let them shake. Let them scramble to understand how the overlooked one became the unignorable one. Let them hide behind fake praise and uneasy smiles. You don't need their validation. You own their attention. You're the living consequence of underestimation. You're the quiet proof that no one stays invisible forever. And now that you're here, they'll never make that mistake again. You can feel it, can't you? That tremor in the air when you walk into a room, that subtle shift. The one they try to pretend isn't happening. They don't talk the same around you anymore. Their laughter shortens, their sentences trip, their confidence gone. Because now they know. You're no longer someone to dismiss. You're a living reminder of what happens when someone is underestimated for too long. They never thought the quiet one would wake up. Never thought the shadow would start casting them. But that's the thing about being overlooked. It gives you the most dangerous gift of all. Time. Time to observe. Time to understand. Time to evolve. While they were busy seeking validation, you were building endurance. While they were flaunting their temporary wins, you were constructing something permanent, something that couldn't be destroyed with gossip or applause. They thought your silence meant you were small. They didn't realize it meant you were strategic. You were learning the rhythm of the room, the patterns, the players, the power lines. You became fluent in invisibility. You learned to move without making a sound. You became the hunter in plain sight. And now, every word you say hits like a verdict. Every glance carries the weight of everything you survived. Every move you make feels rehearsed by fate itself. Because this isn't luck. This isn't coincidence. This is consequence. You weren't given your power. You took it back. Piece by piece, moment by moment, year by year. They thought they buried you under doubt, but they were just piling on the soil you'd used to grow. That's the paradox they can't process. Your success isn't revenge. It's reincarnation. You died in front of them so many times they got comfortable with your ghost. But now you're back, and you're not the same. You're something else. Something that doesn't beg. Something that doesn't explain. Something that doesn't need to be loved to be lethal. They used to pity you. Now they panic. They used to look past you. Now they can't look away. And that's what scares them most. You didn't become one of them. You didn't conform. You didn't join their circus. You built your own stage, your own light, your own gravity. You made yourself undeniable by becoming the one thing they could never imitate. Authentic. See, they can copy your words, your style, your movements, but they'll never copy your becoming. They didn't bleed in your silence. They didn't claw through your rejection. They didn't earn the discipline it takes to keep going when nobody's watching. That's the difference. That's what separates icons from noise. You know why they're shaking? Because deep down, they realized that while they were building image, you were building identity. They were chasing attention. You were mastering yourself. And now, the world bends toward you, not because you asked, but because you commanded it without words. You stopped waiting for people to choose you, and the universe started handing you everything you used to beg for. Because power doesn't live in noise. It lives in alignment, and you're finally aligned with your truth. They see it, they feel it, they can't describe it, but they know. Something about you has changed frequency. You're no longer vibrating on human terms. You've crossed into something else, something primal, something prophetic, something that doesn't need validation because it creates it. You've become the kind of person that doesn't chase opportunity. Opportunity starts stalking you. The same rooms that once ignored you are now waiting for you to arrive. The same people who mocked you now shape their sentences around your name. And they hate it. They hate how effortlessly you do what they've been pretending to do. They hate that your silence carries more impact than their noise. They hate that while they were busy being seen, you were becoming unforgettable. You learned the game, then you rewired it. You stopped trying to sit at their table. You bought the building. You stopped asking for space. You became the space. And the irony? The same world that once ghosted you now calls you a mystery. They call it luck, timing, natural talent. Because it's easier to lie than to admit they overlooked a god in progress. Let them talk. Let them spin stories to soothe their egos. Because every time they speak your name, they add another page to your legend. They don't even realize they're building your mythology in real time. Their disbelief is your advertisement. Their jealousy is your marketing. Their fear is your proof of power. You went from "who's that?" to "how did they do that?" From "nobody cares" to "everybody's watching." From invisible to inevitable. And now they're trembling, not because you've become louder, but because you've become inevitable. You can see it on their faces when you walk in. The flicker of confusion, the forced smile, the way they try to act like they're not recalculating everything they ever thought about you. They remember when you were easy to dismiss. They remember when they didn't clap. They remember the silence when you failed, and now that same silence has become your crown. You don't even need to defend yourself anymore. Your existence is the rebuttal. You don't need to scream. The results are screaming for you. You don't need to clap back. The entire world is echoing your name for you. And that's the most poetic revenge of all. Not proving them wrong, but becoming the living embodiment of what they could have learned from, instead of laughed at. They wanted you to stay invisible because they felt safe that way. Now they look at you and realize the ghost they ignored became the god they can't escape. So let them shake. Let them choke on the disbelief. Let them rewrite the narrative however they need to sleep at night. Because no matter how they spin it, the truth won't change. You were overlooked because you were becoming. And now you're undeniable because you stopped waiting for permission to exist. They had their chance to see you. Now they'll have to watch you. They can't breathe right when you walk past, can they? You can feel it. The stiffness in their smiles, the forced warmth in their tone, the awkward tremor in the air. They can't decide whether to praise you or pretend you don't exist, so they do both at once. They stare too long, then look away too fast. They congratulate you with that same shaky laugh that says, "We never thought you'd actually make it." You can almost hear their thoughts. How? When? Why not me? Because that's the real question eating them alive. Why not me? Why did the one they ignored, the one they underestimated, the one they secretly mocked, become the center of gravity? It's because you learned the secret that terrifies people who've built their identity on being seen. Visibility means nothing without depth. You can be popular and hollow, loud and fragile, seen by millions and understood by no one. They chose visibility. You chose substance. They posted while you practiced. They celebrated while you strategized. They were busy being noticed. You were busy becoming necessary. And now, your very existence makes them uncomfortable. Because when someone like you rises, it exposes everyone who faked it. You are living proof that patience was never weakness, that silence was never surrender, that the ones who wait aren't behind. They're just collecting data. You became too intelligent to manipulate, too patient to provoke, too powerful to predict. You learned that being overlooked is not a curse, it's camouflage. The world ignores seeds too, until they break concrete. And when you finally broke through, it wasn't luck, it was inevitability. They remember how they treated you. That's the part that haunts them now. Every dismissive glance, every "you're overthinking," every backhanded compliment disguised as advice. Every moment they talked down to you like you should be grateful to even be tolerated. They remember all of it because your success forces them to. You became the walking reflection of their misjudgment, the consequence of their arrogance, the proof that their approval was irrelevant the entire time. And deep down, they envy you, not just for the success, but for the way you did it, for the way you didn't fold, didn't beg, didn't compromise. You didn't sell your soul for visibility. You starved for truth. You didn't chase the crowd. You outlasted it. They crave your peace more than your power. Because your peace is untouchable. You don't compete. You command. You don't argue. You exist. You don't chase attention. You attract confession. Now everyone talks softer around you. The energy shifts. Even your enemies have to speak carefully, because they know one misstep could expose what they really feel. Fear. Fear of irrelevance. Fear of being the one who underestimated you publicly. Fear of being remembered for doubting someone who turned out to be right. You can almost taste it. The tension, the disbelief, the reluctant respect. They hate that they need your approval now. Hate that the hierarchy flipped. Hate that the one they dismissed became the one they have to impress. And you don't even have to gloat. You don't have to post about it. Your silence is the loudest sound in the room. Because the truth is, power isn't about volume. It's about presence. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your energy already does the talking. Your discipline screams louder than any rant ever could. Your peace intimidates because it's proof that you've outgrown the noise that used to feed you. And the cruelest irony, you still walk like the same person, same heartbeat, same calm. But now, they can feel that something's different because your energy carries the weight of every battle you never spoke about. Every time you kept your head down instead of reacting. Every night you built quietly while the world laughed loudly. They feel the gravity now, and gravity doesn't apologize. You've become the exact opposite of what they expected. They thought your rise would make you arrogant, but you got quieter. They thought your power would make you cruel, but it made you colder, measured, untouchable. They thought success would change your heart, but it just exposed theirs. You're not seeking revenge, you're embodying it. You are the poetic consequence of being overlooked by people who never saw the potential in anything that didn't already shine. And that's why they tremble. Because they can't dismiss you anymore, and they can't destroy you either. You've become too real to erase, too necessary to replace. You're not in competition with them. You've become a mirror for their mediocrity. You're the reflection that forces them to ask questions they've been avoiding their entire lives. What if I had tried harder? What if I hadn't doubted? What if I had believed in myself the way they did? But it's too late. You already rewrote the timeline. You went from the quiet one in the corner to the pulse that controls the room. From background noise to main frequency, from disposable to divine. You don't chase opportunities anymore. They orbit you. You don't speak for attention. You speak, and silence follows. You don't need validation. You are the standard. And you wear it differently, not as pride, but as prophecy. You didn't come back for revenge. You came back to be witnessed. You came back to remind them that the same stone they tripped over became the cornerstone. That the one they ignored built an empire while they were busy gossiping in circles. So let them shake. Let them whisper. Let them pretend they always knew. Because the truth will haunt them in silence long after your name has become legend. You were overlooked because you were under construction. And now that the blueprint's complete, the world can't stop staring. You didn't just rise, you arrived. And now, they'll spend the rest of their lives explaining how they missed the miracle that was standing right in front of them. And that's the part they'll never admit. The guilt that gnaws at them in the quiet. Because when your name comes up now, the room gets tense. Someone always clears their throat. Someone changes the subject. Someone looks down. They all remember the way they treated you when it was safe to doubt you. And now, every single one of them is living in the echo of that mistake. You don't even have to remind them. Success is a mirror. It reflects back everything people refused to see the first time. When they hear your voice now, they remember the silence that answered you back then. When they watch you win, they remember the times they watched you lose and didn't move. And that's the punishment. Not your rise, but their memory of their absence while it happened. You walk through that now with quiet grace, don't you? No anger, no gloating, just that knowing half smile. because you understand what they never did, that you were never built to be liked. You were built to last. All the nights of doubt, all the rooms that went still when you entered, all the walls that closed in, they forged something permanent. They think they're watching your peak, but this is only the threshold. You haven't even shown them the final form yet. You're still becoming, still sharpening, still growing into the weight of what you survived. So let them talk. Let them rewrite the story in their favor. Let them pretend they saw it coming. You don't need to correct the record. History already did that for you. You were the warning they ignored, the storm they laughed at, the silence that turned into thunder. Now you are proof that being overlooked is not the end. It's the incubation. You were never waiting for permission. You were waiting for alignment. And now, everything that once tried to contain you reports to you. So stand still for a moment. Feel the air shift when you breathe. That's not luck. That's the sound of inevitability. That's the world finally catching up to what you always knew. That the one they disregarded was the one destined to redefine the entire game. They called you invisible. Now you're unforgettable. They called you harmless. Now you're unstoppable. You went from overlooked to undeniable. And now, the only thing shaking louder than their voices is the ground beneath their feet.